Eric, in my work, and I've got a book coming out in October myself called The Mattering Effect. But in
Hmm.
that, I define a term called the Mattering Gap. And the Mattering Gap is where we individually start feeling like we're being erased, like we're outwardly visible, but internally we feel invisible.
Hmm.
And how does that relate to cultures of companies and the invisible leader that you bring up in the book?
Yeah, so the invisible leader is a really important concept in the book, and to understand it, you got to go back into the past. Everybody knows Frederick. Everybody who has studied management at all and at all knows Frederick Winslow Taylor, the father of scientific management or Taylorism, which for much of the 20th century was a very dominant management idea. And even now, if people want to show their management bona fides, they often feel the need to criticize Taylorism and show how their new thing is a repudiation of it. So he was by far the most famous management thinker of the 20th century and probably of all time. Modern readers can't really appreciate what an incredible celebrity he was when he was alive. But it was a contemporary management thinker named Mary Parker Follett. She lived around that same time. She was very active in the 19 teens and 1920s. And her work was diametrically opposed to Taylorism, whereas he saw workers almost like robots. He was very into hierarchy and command and control. He had a bunch of racist ideas too. She was very far ahead of her time. Many of her ideas, if you saw them today, like on a LinkedIn post, you'd be like, "Oh, I assume that's from Adam Grant or somebody? That sounds right on. That's just what we talk about today." But she was writing in the 1920s. It's unbelievable. She talked about the preference for power with rather than power over. She said, "The goal of a leader is to make more leaders." Come on, if you saw that on LinkedIn today, you'd be like, "Damn, Rise said right on. Very cool, right?" She said that when asked once if subordinates should obey their superiors, she said, "No. The superior and the subordinate together obey the law of the situation," meaning they work together to figure out what the situation requires and they do that. She just was way ahead of her time. And one of the things she used to say that would drive her contemporaries just crazy, she would say, "Mr. Roundtree, the most excellent leader, the most excellent owner of the Roundtree Chocolate Factory, is not the leader of the Roundtree Chocolate Factory." And people are like, "Lady, what?" His family owns the building, the company, like everybody works for him. If he's not the leader, who is? She said, "Well, he is an excellent leader, but only because he is very effective at instilling in his employees a sense of common purpose. And it is the common purpose itself, rather than Mr. Roundtree, who is their invisible leader." If you understand this concept, you can understand so much about what goes wrong in modern companies because the vast majority of decisions that are truly consequential to whether a company endures or collapses are made when no manager is present. There are a million little decisions every day. Should we make the product a little bit worse to make a little extra money? Someone calls into customer service with a problem that technically, by the letter of the law, you don't have to fix, but you could. Well, what are they going to choose? What are they going to choose? The modern kind of easy, lazy way of business, Jim Sinegal, the founder of Costco, he calls it the business equivalent of taking heroin. He told me a story once that you can, if they raise the price of a dollar bottle of ketchup at Costco to $1.03, no one would notice, would not affect their sales at all. If they raise prices across the board by 3%, no one would notice, but they would double their net income, which is a lot of money. So why don't they do it? He said, well, if you do it once, you got to do it again. It becomes baked into your forecast. That's the easy way, the simple way. Seems like the seductive way, but if that's the ethos, if you don't consciously push back against it, that lazy default will infect everything in your business. So the goal of our operational leadership should be, as Mary Parker Follett taught, to instill this sense of common purpose into every employee so that they know how they're supposed to behave even when nobody's watching. They still will want to do the right thing. They will still try to earn the trust of our customers, of our employees, of our investors, of anyone that they're interacting with. And so the book is a lot about how to create the operating conditions for this to happen.